SAS Who Dares wins Australia. Let's go.
Selection for the SAS is a test like no other.
They're going to think they know what's coming, but they haven't got a clue.
Well, that would make sense since they're civilians. Good answer, Ant. Let's keep going. We'll cut to the meat of this.
I'm bad
The heart-stopping decider.
Who have you been training with?
Who will pass selection?
I want to go till I'm told to stop.
I'm in this experience to prove that women can do this. You don't.
All right, so they're already setting up the characters in it. This is the first one I've looked at. So they got the script written. Everybody's got to have their role in order to keep this thing rolling. Otherwise, all these people would get crushed from minute one.
I honestly can't even believe what we've gone through.
Yeah, your body's just holding.
Now that place looks desolate. It looks like the movie Australia when they're in the middle of nowhere, or like Utah. And they put them out there in the desert. It must be the winter because they look cold. That's going to be tough for them. Dehydrated quick, gets hot in the day, cold at night. I like it.
Together because it knows it's got a job to do.
It's the final 24 hours of the condensed version of the SAS selection course, and just a handful of exhausted recruits remain.
Now, when you guys watch these shows, do you sit there and say to yourself, I got this, man. I could do it. I think there's a lot of people who do. It's human nature. It's like as a kid, when I watch sports, I go, well, I think I could hit that homer. I think I could do this course. Knowing what I know now, could I do it as a civilian? Well, I'm too broken, but I think I could. When you watch it, you go, okay, it's a TV show. I'm not going to get rolled back and become a cook if I fail. Why not? Physically, though, I think a lot of these people probably pass the physical but are not equipped to do the course. You guys tell me in the comments, do you think about it? And if you do you think you could pass it? Now, this the pretend thing, right? The reality show.
It's crazy that of 17, only 5 have made it.
Yeah. And there's still a chance that we might not all make through this.
Yeah, I don't think we will.
Let's go, let's go! Cross your legs!
Here, their first task will begin.
Get down on the ground now!
To escape captivity and evade capture.
Don't move!
So this is like a SEER school type of thing, right? So they got captured, and now they've got to escape. And then I guess there's some place they're supposed to go. You know, these guys aren't going to stand a chance because if you looked at the topography, it looked like desert. And the escape, the dogs, you know, all the commotion. They blindfold you. They get the dogs barking. If you're in a box, you're in a room blindfolded, they'll have the rock music like you've seen at Abu Ghraib, or you've seen in some television shows. They'll just play things that disorient you because no one knows what that's going to be. Some people may be fine with babies crying and dogs barking and being put in a box. Other people may go, this isn't for me. Here's all the intel, brother.
Well, escape and evasion is an integral part of SAS selection.
Head down.
In a Special Forces operator's life, 90% of the work we do is in dangerous situations behind the enemy lines, where it's possible that things will go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of it is the intel they've got. Whether it be what the mission was going to be, how big the force is, crypto codes, what used to be a thing. In other words, how to decrypt communications. So anybody who's at high risk if they're captured for giving up intel, whether they be a pilot, intel guy, any kind of SF forces, are going to do this. And there's quite a few people who required to do SEER school probably never get captured. These people are clearly not going to be equipped. The other program, there were some pretty good ones where checking the description where they really put them up against a ringer and people are just folding.
And this replicates that. You will not have the assets, you will not have the support, and you are on your own. And you've got to survive to escape and evade capture.
Now on their own inside enemy territory.
James, okay, get down.
That guy was running so gingerly with his arms up. I don't even know how to describe it. It looked like somebody tiptoeing through the tulips. I'm not sure what he thought he was doing.
The recruits must evade capture by the hunter force, who relentlessly pursue them by land and by surveillance drones in the air.
Swipe. We've got to move.
Route, but some people just.
Alpha are smashing it.
It's not slippery. Gotcha.
Thank you, Jim.
You know, if you're being chased, like you escaped, I think the stream's the least of your worries. Like she's gingerly walking through the stream. Now, I would say you don't want to get your feet wet if you don't have to, but the least of your worries is the wet feet. Not just a little tiny stream. I don't know if they do these programs, they do these acts for effect where she's like, well, I don't want to get wet. Like she's a damsel in distress or a princess in a tower. You guys tell me what you think. I haven't followed this series. And if this one does well, I'll do more on it.
Now this is probably the river. Can you hear the water?
I think so. Hang on. What do you reckon it's here?
Yeah, it's a creek.
Okay.
Alright, head down close to it and then hug left.
Reaching a small creek, which they assume is the river, Team Bravo bank left and follow the waterline.
Okay. Right, James.
You know, this is where land nav comes into effect. Now, you don't have a compass. Obviously, they must have a map or some memory of a map. You don't have a compass, but if you understand terrain features, that was a river on a map. Does not look like it. Maybe you could follow it back up to the river. Looks like maybe a tributary, a small creek. Clearly not a river unless it's dry in the winter. They haven't thought through that. They just go, oh, there's the river. Let's keep trucking. This is going to be a pretty big epic fail.
No. It's not a hard route, but it takes confidence at night, doesn't it?
It's not an hard route, but some people just don't have that. They don't have that mindset for navving, especially at night.
Yeah.
Is that the river still?
You know, the best part about night is you can see people coming or hear them. So at night, you have a clear, distinct advantage if you're running from somebody. And the best thing you could do is they expect you to run. So if they expect you to run on the easiest pathway, you don't do that, right? It's like hide and seek as a child. People are expecting you to hide here. You don't hide there. Now, these people are going to know what they would expect for somebody in this training or in this reality program. I'm sure they're not going to be hard to find because these people are making a pile of noise.
Can you see it? It doesn't have any water in it. This is the end.
Boom, not the river. How did I guess that?
Where the are we?
Given clear instruction to turn left at the river, then head straight toward the RV point, Team Bravo have instead followed a small creek and now find themselves completely lost in the darkness.
Yeah. Now, if you get lost on that type of stuff, you're screwed, especially without any kind of navigation. Now, they know what the creek is. If they follow it this far and they're seeing less water, maybe follow the creek back to the river. At some point, this creek probably is going to hit the river. Look at the map. It definitely does. But I've seen people get lost on night land nav, and they get spun around, and then everyone starts hyperventilating in their brain, and all thinking stops. I'm sure that's going to happen with these two jewels.
Says the river.
I hope we've actually followed the river.
I think number 14 needs a backup.
Evading the car, Sabrina and James move quickly.
Cover. Get to the tree line. Okay, we're back on track. Just be careful because I can hear noise.
be careful. They're going to hear noise as they're like trudging through like a boar going through the brambles in Australia. They're making so much racket. You know, now you can hear people coming far away, but if the bad guys have an outpost, listening post, they're going to hear them coming clear as day. Like that.
Hands out front! Hands out front of you!
I was in a conflict zone and 2 of us got taken captive.
Get the up.
The surrealness of actually being controlled by somebody else, having a gun stuck in your mouth.
Now, I did not see this before. That's exactly what happened. They're coming along. People at a listening post, they heard them coming. They set off some explosive for effect. Otherwise, they would just capture them. They put the blindfold over them. You understand that reasoning. But why do they put the ear pro on? Well, if you know where you're going, you hear you went over a bridge, you hear some noise in the background. Kind of helps you figure out where you are in the scheme of things. Not to mention, it's disorienting. Especially if they got the noise-canceling headphones on, where all you hear is yourself thinking, and then you start getting freaked out.
It just takes a while to sink in. And then all of a sudden everything becomes very real. Thrown, cuffed into the back of a vehicle. It's a case of trying to think about what you have to do to survive.
Umpire.
Guard. Stay there. Do not move.
The recruits are taken to a holding room where they'll be held captive as they await interrogation.
Hands out. Kneel. I said don't move. Do not fidget.
They'll spend hours on end, subjected to painful stress positions and disturbing repetitive noise.
Just standing up in the position of attention will wear somebody out. No less if you're doing the Roman chair, whatever other positions are putting them in. An hour goes by, 2 hours. Then the repetitive noises, like I mentioned earlier, now they have pigs squealing. They can't see, they're disoriented. Probably put them in a box. You know, whatever they think of that looks like it may break the person. That's in training. These guys, they're going to bring out the stuff that looks the best. And there's obviously not too much that'll get them kicked off Australian television.
All designed to break their mental resolve.
Do not move.
In that moment of capture, I can remember total darkness, excruciating and uncomfortable noises.
I can tell you what really does suck is those zip ties when they put them on really tight. They will cut into your skin. And they're going to put them on super tight so you can't break out of them. Plus, you're using the super thick zip ties. You may have your legs bound, depending on how they want to bind you. You're not getting away. There's going to be a guard at the door. They're going to check it on you. Make sure you don't sleep. And make sure if you got to go, you go on yourself. Make it more fun. Now, that's where you get into, obviously, reality show. Most people aren't taking POW. But that's what they talk about in training and all the gurus, and mental toughness comes in. You just daydream in a shitty position. Whether it's being on duty at 1 in the morning, you're exhausted and you're bored, daydreaming to stay mentally tough or get out of that position you're in your head. Same with this. And that's how the training all comes to play here. These people don't have it. But some people can shock you. It's like the woman lifting the car off the kid. You know, the mother, you hear that story.
And then there's the stress positions to cope with.
Not a move. Don't move. Doing straight.
You just want it to end.
You! Stand up! Get up! You! Stand! Hand on your head! Stand! Arms out, full extension! Do not move!
The recruits will be interrogated one by one.
Turn!
Number.
You know, here's where they get you. It's like the cop shows, right? Well, they'll interrogate recruit 1, and they'll tell recruit 2 that recruit 1 gave everything up, and start playing people off each other. Just like if you've ever been arrested, And you start, if you get tired, you start thinking, that could be happening. That guy could be cutting a deal saying, I'm the kingpin or I'm the head of this unit. And that's where they start playing mind games, and you don't know. In this case, these guys are going to be very good at it. It's not going to be some third world army that's trying to play games with you. But most interrogation people that are good at it, say whether it's a law enforcement or in the military, are going to have beat you down and weakened you enough where you're very easy to get info out of, or at least pull your emotions around if you're not prepared.
Merrick is first to undergo the tactical questioning, while Chief Instructor Ant and the umpire watch on nearby.
Biggest doubt I have about myself is probably the...
Now, do you think you would do well in a SEER type of training? Have you thought about it? What would be the toughest thing for you? Crying babies, stress positions. If you want to see more of the SAS Who Dares wins in Australia, let me know in the comments.